The boy was rushed into the trauma bay, monitors beeping wildly, doctors shouting vitals. His mother clutched the doorway, praying under her breath. But Karen barged in right behind us, shoving a nurse aside. "I said I need treatment first," she snapped, pointing at her throat like a queen demanding service. "One of the trauma doctors lost patience. Get her out of here before someone dies." Security was called, but Karen only grew louder. "You lay one hand on me and I'll have your jobs." "My lawyer is already on the way." That's when the first twist hit. She didn't know who she was screaming at. I wasn't just a doctor on shift. I was also the hospital's liaison with the state health board. Every complaint, every lawsuit, every false claim ended up on my desk. And Karen? She had a long history. Last year, she filed 5 fake malpractice claims, all thrown out. She staged slip-and-fall accidents in grocery stores. She even tried to sue her own neighbor for emotional damages because his dog barked at her fence. And now here she was, blocking life-saving care while a boy fought for his life. The nurse whispered to me, "She's crossed the line." "This is obstruction." I nodded slowly, pulling my badge from my pocket. Karen's smirk faltered for the first time when she read, "At the State Medical Board Investigator." I leaned closer and said, "Congratulations. You just interfered with an emergency response. That's a felony." Her phone slipped slightly in her hand, but she still tried to laugh it off. "You're bluffing. You people always bluff." She had no idea the cameras had caught everything. Karen's laugh was shaky, but she raised her phone higher, aiming it right at me. "You think I'm scared? This video will go viral. Everyone will know how you abused a patient with priority needs." Her words dripped with arrogance, but her eyes darted nervously toward the security officer now stepping into the room. The boy's mother spun on her, tears streaking down her face. "Priority needs? He was having a seizure in my arms. My son almost died because of you." The raw pain in her voice silenced the room for a heartbeat. Even the nurses paused, their anger barely contained. Karen scoffed and waved dismissively. "Don't be so dramatic. He's fine, isn't he? He's not even dead." That was it. The air cracked with fury. The mother lunged forward, but I caught her shoulders just in time. "Don't," I whispered. "Let her hang herself with her own words." The security guard stepped closer. "Ma'am, I need you to hand me your phone and step out." Karen barked out a laugh. "Touch me and I'll have your badge. I know people downtown. The HOA protects its own." She puffed up, acting invincible. But then, the second twist. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from the control room. "Footage is secure. Dispatch notified. Real police en route." I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Good, keep recording. Because in 3 minutes, those real cops will walk in, and they'll watch the replay of you blocking a stretcher, mocking a dying boy, and threatening staff." Her smirk finally cracked. "Wait, real cops?" For the first time, Karen took a step back. The sliding doors hissed open again. And this time, the sound of heavy boots filled the hall. 2 uniformed officers strode in, hands resting on their belts, radios crackling. Karen straightened instantly, forcing a wide grin as if she had just been saved. "Finally," she cried, pointing at me. "That's him. The doctor who refused me treatment and endangered my life. Arrest him right now!" The officers didn't even glance at me. One of them spoke calmly into his radio. "We've got the subject in sight." The other officer locked eyes with Karen. "Ma'am, is your name Karen Walsh?" Her grin froze. "Yes, why?" The officer held up a tablet where hospital security footage was already playing. Her blocking the stretcher, screaming at the boy's mother, laughing about him not being dead yet. Her own voice echoed through the hallway, damning her more than anything we could have said. Karen's face drained of color. That's out of context. I was just..." The boy's mother stepped forward, voice trembling but strong. "Context? You stood in front of my son while he was seizing. You told me he wasn't even worth saving." Karen spun in desperation. No, you don't understand. My HOA, my cousin, they'll handle this." She reached for her phone, but the officer caught her wrist midair. "Not today." Her confident mask shattered as the cuffs clicked around her wrists. The crowd of nurses and patients in the waiting room had gathered silently, watching everything unfold. A few even started clapping as she was led toward the exit, still sputtering excuses. And just when it seemed like it was over, one officer leaned toward me and muttered, "Funny thing, we've had reports of her pulling the same stunt at other hospitals." Looks like tonight she just exposed her whole game. Karen's head snapped back, eyes wide. No, you can't prove that. But the truth was already unraveling. Karen thrashed in the officer's grip as they dragged her toward the waiting room. This is a mistake. You can't do this to me. I pay taxes. Her shrill voice bounced off the walls, but no one moved to defend her. In fact, people were pulling out their phones, recording every second. The same tool she thought would save her was now the spotlight of her humiliation. The boy's mother stood frozen in the hallway, watching through teary eyes as justice unfolded. One of the nurses whispered, "She's finally getting what she deserves." But the twist wasn't finished yet. The lead officer stopped, pulled a folder from his belt, and flipped it open in front of her. "Karen Walsh, you are not only being charged with obstruction of emergency services tonight. We also have 3 outstanding complaints tied to your name: impersonating officials, filing false reports, attempted insurance fraud." Karen's face went chalk white. She tried to laugh it off. "That's ridiculous. Those were misunderstandings." The officer leaned closer. "Funny how every misunderstanding ends with you demanding money, threatening lawsuits, or harassing neighbors. Sound familiar?" Murmurs rippled through the waiting room. One man muttered, "That's her. She tried to fine me for having a flag on my porch." Another woman whispered, "She posted fake violation notices in our neighborhood last summer." Karen's head snapped around, panic setting in. "Shut up, all of you! You don't know anything!" But the crowd wasn't afraid anymore. They were emboldened. Phones pointed at her from every angle, her fake authority unraveling in front of everyone. And then came the fatal blow. The officer pulled a small envelope from the folder and held it up. "Earlier today, we received an affidavit from your own HOA president. He claims you forged letters under his name. And tonight, this hospital footage confirms your pattern of abuse." Karen staggered back, her voice breaking for the first time. No, they wouldn't dare." But the cuffs on her wrists told her otherwise. The room felt electric as Karen's bravado collapsed. She pulled against the cuffs, her voice breaking into a desperate wail. "You can't do this! I am the HOA! I make the rules! You all need me!" The boy's mother finally stepped forward, her hands trembling but her voice steady. "You nearly killed my son for your ego. Nobody needs you?" The waiting room erupted in quiet agreement. Nods. Murmurs, even a few more claps. Karen's eyes darted around, looking for anyone to side with her, but every face was stone cold. The officers began guiding her toward the doors, but before leaving, one of them turned her toward the crowd. "For the record, this footage and your behavior tonight will go straight to the district attorney. You'll answer in court for every stunt you've pulled." Karen's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The phones capturing her every flinch made sure her fall from power wasn't just legal, it was public. Then came the most satisfying part. The boy's monitor beeped from down the hall, his breathing steadying at last. A nurse poked her head out of the trauma bay and smiled at his mother. "He's stable. We've got him." The mother broke down, sobbing with relief, and I guided her to sit before her legs gave out. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for not letting her win." I crouched beside her, my own chest heavy. No one like her ever wins in the end. Not when the truth is this clear. Karen let out one last shriek as the officers shoved open the glass doors. "This isn't over! I'll come back for all of you!" But the sound of the cuffs rattling against her wrists drowned her out. And with that, the waiting room finally exhaled. The night air swallowed Karen's screams as the glass doors shut behind her, leaving only the faint echo of the cuffs clinking. Inside, the hospital seemed to breathe again. Nurses returned to their stations. Patients relaxed in their chairs, and the chaos she'd fueled melted into quiet order. The boy's mother hurried back into the trauma bay, clutching her son's hand as his eyes flickered open. The relief on her face was pure. Raw gratitude, something no words could fully capture. She looked at me through tears and whispered, "You saved him, and you saved us from her." I shook my head. "Your strength did that. All I did was make sure the truth came out. But in my chest, I knew it was more than that. This wasn't just about one boy, one family, or even one hospital. It was about drawing a line, reminding people like Karen that property, money, or fake authority never outweighs a life. As I walked out into the waiting room, I caught sight of the phone still raised, still recording. For once I didn't mind. Let the world see. Let every HOA tyrant and self-proclaimed. Karen, no, you don't get to bully your way through justice. Not here. Not tonight. A veteran sitting in the corner lifted his head and said quietly, "That's what America's supposed to be. Protect the family. Protect the innocent. Stand your ground." His words carried the weight of every person in the room. I looked back at the glowing red emergency sign above the doors and felt a steadiness in my chest. I didn't fight to save lives just to let someone like her decide who deserves care. Not on my watch. And as Karen's squad car taillights disappeared into the distance, the hospital lights shone. Brighter than ever, proof that truth and justice still stood taller than fear.